Hi, and welcome back to the second part of my lecture on seminars. I'm going to assume that you have seen part one. I'm going to repeat a couple of things I said there, but I'm going to talk here more about the nuts and bolts of the seminar, and you'll see what I mean by that. But first to reiterate something we said in the last lesson, remember that when people buy professional services, they buy the person who provides the service. And seminars are a wonderful way for you to let people get to know that person. It's called a relationship buy, and the biggest obstacle in any relationship is the first one, which is I don't know you. So seminars are a great way for people to get to know you, to bond with you, and to feel comfortable enough to come into your office. And remember also what I said, that you're not going to convince them by means of logic. Most of these people do not consider themselves qualified to judge whether or not you are a terrific attorney. They do consider themselves qualified to decide who they like and trust, and that's what they're there really to decide. Now, that being said, the worst thing I think that you can do is to sort of put an ad in the paper, hope people will show up at the seminar, then give the seminar and hope somebody will call you. You want more structure than that. You want more of a process than that. You want a sort of set of railroad tracks that are always leading people, the potential clients in the audience, to the next step in a very natural way. So let's begin at the beginning. I mean, a common question that I get is, how do I promote these seminars successfully? How do I fill them up? And there's a number of answers to that. You should use your professional referral sources to send their clients. You should use your own list, of course, of clients and past clients and potential clients and subscribers to your newsletter or blog and all of that. But let's assume that you've done all of that and you're looking for, how do I draw in members of the public, people with whom I've had no contact, and bring those people into the seminar. And there are a number of methods. Primarily at our firm, we rely on direct mail, newspaper, and radio. And sometimes, really all the time, those methods, the mix of promotional methods that we're going to use, are very dependent on the nature of the local market. So, just to give you one example, I have a client who is located in Salem, Illinois, which is a very small rural town, and it has one newspaper, and everybody reads that newspaper. And in the one newspaper is small enough so that a full-page ad in that newspaper costs $500. So for $500, I can put an ad in that newspaper and be pretty sure that everybody in town saw it or will see it and will consider going to the seminar. Now, if your practice is located in Chicago, Illinois, instead of Salem, Illinois, that same $500 won't even buy you one 30-second radio ad. And it might buy you a classified ad about this big in the Chicago Tribune or the Chicago Sun-Times, but that's about all it will get you. So the marketing method that's appropriate for Salem, Illinois is not appropriate for Chicago, Illinois. Tip O'Neill famously said that all politics is local. Well, all marketing is local in that sense, too. In Los Angeles, where a lot of people are stuck in their cars all day on the freeway, radio is a terrific marketing method. In upstate New York, radio doesn't seem to draw flies. So it really depends on where you are. A general rule of thumb would be that the bigger the market, the more you want to rely on direct mail, because that's very cost efficient and you know exactly how much you spend per piece, and you can decide how many pieces to send out and who they're going to go to. You can target them by income, by age, by geographic location, and so on. And that's a very, very effective marketing method. It's important, whatever mix that you use, that you track the results as you do seminars, that you ask people when they show up how they heard about the seminar. And that information, unfortunately, is not going to be 100% accurate. We've had several situations where we advertised on radio and in the newspaper and by direct mail, and when people showed up at the seminar, we said, "How did you learn about the seminar?" And they said, "TV," even though there had been no TV ads. So people don't always quite recall how it got into their head, but you want to do your best you can to track those results, because let's say you do a mix of radio, newspaper, and direct mail, and you find that 60% of the attendees came because of direct mail, and 30% came because of the newspaper ad, and only 10% came because of the radio ad. Then the next time that you do this seminar, you're going to take that radio budget probably and put it into more newspaper ads or more direct mail pieces, because they're more effective. However, you do have to be careful about jumping to conclusions, because occasionally what you'll find out is, to use that same example, 60% of the people came from direct mail and 30% came from the newspaper, and only 10% came from the radio. However, if you look at that same data a month or so down the road, you find out that every one of the people who came from radio signed up and became a client, and very few of the people who came from newspaper or direct mail did so. So now you've got to revise your conclusion and say that while radio produces fewer leads, in this case, it produces higher qualified leads, ones who are more likely to become your client. So in order to understand your marketing program, in order to be able to revise it, in order to be able to do it better the next time, you've got to have that data. You've got to track it. So I urge you to do that. Another thing I would tell you is that there's a lot of marketing that takes place before the seminar if you do things correctly. My clients, for example, every time somebody calls and registers for the seminar, and some people answer the phone in their office to take those calls, some people use a service, and I'll discuss that in a minute, but every time somebody registers for the seminar, I have my client, the attorney, write a personal handwritten note to that person saying how much they're looking forward to meeting them on Tuesday night at the seminar or whatever. And this is a personal touch that seminar attendees and would-be clients really appreciate. We've had a number of cases where people showed up at the seminar clutching that personal handwritten note and saying nobody had ever done that for them before, and very anxious to meet the attorney who had been so thoughtful as to write such a note. The other thing I would tell you is, if you take the seminar reservation call in your office, you want to train the person or people who are taking those calls to understand that that's a marketing call. It's not just a clerical call. So a clerical way of taking the reservation would be, hello, Mrs. Jones. You're registering for the seminar. Very good. What night will you be coming? How many people will you bring? Okay, could we have your phone number to call you back? Thank you. A marketing way of answering that phone is understanding that this is your first bonding opportunity with this person. So what I'd like to see is somebody with a very friendly voice, with a smile in their voice, saying, "Oh, Mrs. Jones, we're delighted that you're coming to the seminar. Wait till you meet Attorney Smith. You know, he is just great. People just love him. You're going to have such a good time at this seminar. Now, what night will you be coming? And do you need directions? Okay, well, we're really looking forward to seeing you, and we'll call you back to remind you the day before. If this is done well, then Mrs. Jones, the prospective attendee at the seminar, shows up at the seminar saying, now, where's that nice Alice that I've been talking to? All right, so there's a process that takes place whereby they're already dealing with your office. They already like your office. They already like you because of the handwritten note. They're already partially bonded with you. Then, you know, the night of the seminar, I think there's an important structure to that too. And along with this video, I'm going to have posted here on SPU a link where you can click and watch one of my clients giving our seminar, one of our seminars, an estate planning seminar. And you can watch how she carries out, her name is Kimberly Lee, she's a terrific attorney out in the Palm Desert area of California. And you'll be able to see how she carries out this structure just perfectly, and you'll be able to see why she is so successful. So one of the first things that we discuss at the seminar is price. Now, I know I've already posted some videos dealing with the question of price, so you know my feelings about that. If you haven't seen it, you should go back and watch it again. But here's the theory, and it's more than a theory, I think, at this point. And that is, if somebody knows what you do as an attorney, and they know what you charge, and they make an appointment, and they come to your office, that ought to be a done deal. To me, that is something that you've got to work hard to screw up and lose. Because for most people, price is the main objection. That's the main obstacle that you have to get through. So you'll notice in the video that's going to be attached here in the link that price is perhaps the first thing that we deal with when we do seminars. And we have a certain way of doing it. And that way is this, that let's assume for a minute that I'm giving the seminar. And I'm going to say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's seminar. We're delighted you're here, and I'd like to hear some of the reasons that you came here tonight. What are some of the questions that you are hoping to have answered? And then you wait for some folks to raise their hands and ask you a question. If nobody does, you go out in the audience and you pick somebody. You, sir, tell me, what question are you hoping to have answered? And that person asks you a question like, I don't know, my son works in the family business, my daughters are married and they don't work, so how do I make it come out even in my estate plan? How do I leave things to them equally? That's just a typical question. So you take 2 or 3 questions like that from the audience, you write them down on your legal pad, and you say, okay, that's great, that's a great question, it's a very interesting question. And after you've taken 2 or 3 of those, you say, you know what? There's one more question that's on everybody's mind, and you folks are just all too nice to ask it. And that question is, what does it cost? And if you deliver that right, they're going to laugh. And they're going to laugh because that is what's on their mind. That's what's on everybody's mind. Fear of loss is a very big part of human psychology, so you know that's going to be on their minds. So you say, well, let's talk now first about what it's going to cost to do these kinds of legal services, and that way you can spend the rest of this seminar concentrating on what it is we're going to learn today, what it is we're going to talk about, and you won't have to sit there with your arms crossed saying, yeah, Mark, sounds good, but what does it cost? And again, if you deliver this right, you're going to get a chuckle from the audience because that is what's on their mind. And you don't want that to be what's on their mind. And so you say, well, then let's talk about it right now. So here you can see I've put up a slide. here is a range of costs of what this kind of service entails. And then you explain that in your own way, whatever it is. If it's a range, for example, again in the example that I'm using, estate planning services, most of my clients have a range of 3 or 4 different price levels depending on how much assets people have, depending on how many kids or grandkids they might have, depending on whether or not they have somebody who has special needs and this kind of thing. But it's pretty clear what the range is for these kinds of services. So whatever it is, your kind of service, even if it's an hourly rate, you can at least put that up. And I think you accomplish a couple of things. One is you get credit, I think, in the mind of the audience right away for being upfront about the price, being transparent about it. And you really are going to transform the quality of the client meeting that's going to take place when they come into your office. Because in a typical client meeting, there's this arc of tension that builds as everybody waits for you to pull a rabbit out of your hat and tell them what it's going to cost. This way, they know going into that meeting what it's going to cost. That's already been discussed at the seminar. So you can focus that entire client meeting on what you can do for them. And I really find that it really transforms the nature of it. I also, discussed in one of our previous videos the importance, in my view, of having a pricing sheet or chart. And we posted an example for you to look at. So I think something that's visually presented, something that's printed this way, has a lot of advantages, one of which is that people are much less inclined to try to negotiate prices that are sort of printed and therefore official. So the first thing at the seminar to talk about is price and get that out front right away. Sometimes there are ways in which you can present the price in a seminar that puts it in a certain context. For example, for my elder law attorneys, they might post up that their fee for doing Medicaid planning and Medicaid applications is $7,500. I have them a lot of times put that in context by doing some research, finding out what the costs are at local nursing homes, and saying, okay, the fee is $7,500. That's equivalent to 6 weeks in a local nursing home. And that kind of frames it in a certain way for the potential clients, that they can understand that even though this might seem like a hefty sum to them, it's nothing compared to what they're going to have to pay a nursing home if they don't do this kind of planning. So find a way to present the price, but present the price right away. And then at some point there you can say, okay, now you know what it costs, and now we can go on to learn what we're here to learn today and to get to know each other. And you proceed into the body of the seminar. One of the techniques that we use throughout a seminar that I think is very important is we use what we call a confidential information sheet, both sides here. And this asks the people who are sitting in the audience for basic information about themselves, their health, their kids, if those things are relevant to your area of law practice. And it asks them to check certain boxes to indicate their areas of interest or need. And although this information is important, to me, what's more important about it in the seminar is that this is, in a sense, a prop. This is a way, first of all, to make this seminar both physically and mentally interactive. So instead of somebody sitting there like this, zoning out and thinking about what it is that they're going to get at the grocery store tomorrow, or their shopping list, instead of that, what you've got is somebody doing this. Okay, they're involved in what it is that you're saying. They're responding, and you use this throughout the presentation to say, okay, now if you're interested in what I just said about a revocable living trust, I want you to check box number 1 here. And you continue this process throughout the seminar. Aside from the keeping the seminar interactive, there's another advantage to this, which is that people have a strong psychological commitment to anything that they have written themselves. So, a couple of examples: during the Korean conflict, when the communist Chinese wanted to brainwash American prisoners, one of the methods that they used was to have them get up every morning and write essays about what was wrong with their country, that kind of thing. When people are going door to door selling vacuum cleaners or some kind of item where there's a very high rate of buyer's remorse and canceled contracts, one of the methods they use is to hand over a clipboard and have the prospect fill out the contract themselves. So it's very hard for that person to say that they don't want this vacuum cleaner when they themselves wrote in and filled in the entire contract. So it's very hard for somebody sitting in your audience to check a box and say he's interested in a revocable living trust and then say, no, he's not interested in a revocable living trust. So there's a small commitment process that takes place. This is like another step along that railroad track that I was talking about that takes place. So really, there's a couple of reasons why this is an effective tool. Obviously, you collect them at the end as well, and if you've done a good job here getting them to fill this out, you've got another person that you can put in your database for dripping program, and we'll talk more about that in another lesson. But the process by which you send them newsletters, you send them information periodically, you keep them as friends and acquaintances of your law firm. So I think this is an important tool. And then you get to the end of the presentation, again, as you'll see in the attached video, and now you need a way to transition to an appointment in your office. So again, I'm going to pretend I'm the attorney here, and I'm going to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, we're drawing to the end of today's seminar. If we've done our job well, you've filled out your confidential information sheet, and you've checked some boxes here, and folks, you'll notice that there's one more box for you to check, and that's it, to request an appointment. And as a matter of fact, I've got a special surprise for you today, and that is that for those of you who are here today and sat through this presentation with me, we have a wonderful gift certificate here. It's for $150, and it pays for the entire cost of an estate planning consultation with me. Now, before you go running off here, I want to tell you that, my assistant, Amy, is here in the back of the room with my appointment book. And for those of you who want to make an appointment today, you go see her, and she's going to give you your gift certificate. Now, a couple of things I want you to remember about the gift certificate. Number one, it's made out to you personally. It's not transferable to another person. You can't give it to your daughter for her divorce or your friend for his auto accident. This is for an estate planning consultation between you and me, because you were nice enough to come here today and to listen to this. And the other thing I want you to notice here is that it has an expiration date on it. And that expiration date is for 3 weeks from today. And the reason for that is that next month I'll be giving another set of these seminars and workshops, and all of my available appointments will fill up very quickly. So if you'd like to take advantage of this, please go see Amy, make your appointment, make it for some time in the next 3 weeks, and she'll give you your gift certificate, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you. Thank you very much. So what you see here again is a process that takes place from the minute that the person receives the invitation or sees the ad in the newspaper, to the moment when they call and register for the seminar, to the moment when they receive a thank you note, to the moments in the seminar when they fill out the confidential information sheet, to the end when they get their gift certificate and make their appointment. So compared to how people usually do seminars with no forethought, no real structure to the presentation, no system to garner appointments, you can imagine how different the results are by doing it this way. So if you want to do seminars, give some thought to it, do some research. I definitely urge you to click on the link that will be posted here so that you can watch Kimberly Lee give the Smart Marketing seminar sort of exactly the way it's supposed to be given. Her topic is estate planning, but I don't care if it's immigration or bankruptcy or divorce or whatever it is, all of these principles remain the same. And I can tell you that Kimberly in general gets around a 65% appointment rate. 65% of the people who sit in the audience make an appointment and come to see her in her office, and her close rate from that is very, very high. It must be in the 90th percentile there because, as I said, they know what she does, they know what she charges, and they made the effort and came to her office. So seminars are a wonderful, wonderful way to market your legal services. They're educational, they're dignified, they're valuable to all parties concerned, and you should do them on a consistent basis. And when you do them, give them some thought, use the principles that I've described here, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of success.